In the late 1500s, more than 100 English settlers crossed the vast Atlantic Ocean to start a new life in the New World. They landed on a small island off the coast of what is now North Carolina. The place was called Roanoke. For England, this was supposed to be the beginning of their empire in America. But what happened next became one of the greatest mysteries in history. When a supply ship returned years later, the entire colony had vanished. No houses, no signs of struggle, no graves. Only a single word carved into a tree: Croatoan. Until today, no one knows what truly happened to them. Did they join the local tribes? Were they killed? Or did something even darker take place on Roanoke Island? This is the story of the lost colony. In 1587, more than 110 men, women, and children set sail from England to Roanoke Island. This wasn't just a group of soldiers or explorers, and it was families, determined to build a new home across the ocean. They were led by John White, a man chosen to govern the colony. Spirits were high. The promise of fertile land, freedom, and a fresh start filled their hearts with hope. But reality was different. The land was wild and untamed. Supplies from England were running low. Food was scarce, and the relationship with the native tribes was complicated. Some tribes offered help, sharing corn and hunting techniques. Others were suspicious, even hostile, seeing the settlers as intruders. Still, the colonists tried to adapt. They built houses, planted crops, and struggled to survive in this harsh new environment. But as the months passed, their situation grew desperate. Without reinforcements or supplies, they knew they couldn't last long on their own. John White had no choice. He decided to return to England to bring back fresh supplies for his people. But he had no idea that this would be the last time he would ever see them. When John White sailed back to England, he thought it would only take a few months to return with supplies. He left behind his daughter, his son-in-law, and his infant granddaughter, Virginia Dare, the very first English child born in America. To him, this mission was temporary. He would return, and the colony would thrive. But fate had other plans. As soon as John White reached England, a massive war broke out between England and Spain. The Spanish Armada threatened the English coast, and every ship was needed for defense. White begged for a vessel to bring food and tools back to Roanoke, but the Queen and her navy refused. The nation's survival came first, not a distant colony across the ocean. Years passed. White was helpless, knowing his family and fellow colonists were starving, waiting for him. Imagine the pain of a father, knowing his daughter and granddaughter might be dying, while he was trapped on the other side of the world. Finally, after 3 long years, the war ended. White managed to secure a ship, and with a mix of hope and dread, he sailed once again toward the mysterious shores of Roanoke Island. When John White finally reached Roanoke Island in 1590, 3 long years after he had left, what he found was beyond imagination. The settlement was silent. The houses were torn down. The fort was dismantled. There was no sign of his daughter, his granddaughter, or any of the colonists. It was as if the entire colony had vanished into thin air. The only clue left behind was a strange carving on a wooden post. The word Croatoan. Another tree bore the letters Chiaro. To White, this seemed to point toward Croatoan Island, now known as Hatteras Island, where a friendly native tribe lived. But here's where the mystery deepens. White was desperate to follow the trail, to find his family, but a powerful storm struck. His ship's captain refused to risk the journey. The winds forced them away from the coast. And just like that, White was pushed back toward England, never to return to Roanoke again. He died without ever knowing what happened to his granddaughter, Virginia Dare, or the lost colony. And so the question remained: what really happened to the 115 settlers who disappeared without a trace? After the shocking discovery, the fate of the Roanoke settlers became one of America's greatest mysteries. For centuries, historians and storytellers have tried to answer the same question: where did they go? One theory suggests the colonists were absorbed into the friendly Croatoan tribe. Perhaps they married, had children, and blended into Native American society. If true, their bloodline may still exist today. Another darker theory claims the settlers were attacked and wiped out by hostile tribes. Some stories say skeletons and remains were once found scattered in the woods, but no solid proof survives. A third theory points to starvation and disease. Isolated, cut off from England, the colonists may have simply perished in the harsh wilderness. But then there are the legends. Whispers that the colonists turned to cannibalism, or that something supernatural consumed them. Some locals believe the Roanoke woods are cursed, haunted by restless spirits of the vanished settlers. And even stranger, in later years, reports surfaced of European-looking children with gray eyes among native tribes. Could these have been the descendants of the lost Roanoke colonists? Or just another ghostly tale? Centuries have passed, yet the story of the lost colony of Roanoke refuses to fade. It is more than just a historical mystery, it has become a legend that shaped the identity of America. For historians, Roanoke is a lesson of survival, colonization, and human resilience. For writers and filmmakers, it is the perfect tale of suspense and unanswered questions. Countless books, documentaries, and even TV series have been inspired by the mystery of Roanoke. But beyond entertainment, the disappearance of these settlers also carries a haunting reminder. Human ambition often clashes with nature, fate, and forces beyond our control. The colonists came with dreams of a new life, but instead they left behind only whispers, carvings, and shadows. Even today, archaeologists continue to search for evidence, bones, artifacts, or any proof of what really happened. Yet the silence of Roanoke remains unbroken. Perhaps the answer lies buried in the soil of North Carolina, or perhaps the truth was swallowed forever by time. And so the lost colony lives on, not in the flesh, but in memory, legend, and mystery. A ghostly chapter of history that will never stop asking the same question. What happened to the people of Roanoke? The lost colony of Roanoke is more than just a vanished settlement. It is a wound in history, an unanswered question that has echoed for over 4 centuries. Were they taken by war? Consumed by famine? Absorbed by native tribes? Or did something far darker happen? Something we may never fully understand? Every generation rediscovers this mystery, and yet no one can close the chapter. Perhaps that is why Roanoke will always remain legendary, because sometimes history refuses to give us closure, and so the island still waits. The trees still whisper. The waves still crash upon its shores, guarding the secret of a colony that disappeared into silence. Until one day, maybe, the truth will finally rise from the shadows.